Alright, greetings everyone, and welcome to another review. And in spirit of the It remake, which is out in cinemas, I think it's only appropriate to look back at the original 1990 miniseries directed by Tommy Lee Wallace and starring an all-star cast that includes John Ritter and Tim fucking Curry as Pennywise the Clown. Now let's move it down. This is a TV miniseries, so it's divided into two parts, part 1 and part 2. So let's waste no time. Let's dive right in to part 1. Part 1. Part 1 of this movie deals with the 7 protagonists as children, and I really like the first part. The first part of this movie is very solid. Now it has some problems, but overall it was written very well, and it was very acted well. The child actors that they got to portray the 7 characters did a good job with the material they were given. Their chemistry to me was natural. The fear that they conveyed when Pennywise would show himself to them felt real to me. There's certain scenes that are kind of hokey when you look back now. There's this one scene where Ben sees Pennywise as his father, then he turns into this decaying skeleton thing, and the skeleton looks fake as fuck. It looks terrible. And there's also this one, there's also another scene with when he attacks Eddie in the shower, and the stop motion can make Ray Harryhausen turn over in his grave. So yeah, the first part does have some some painfulness to it in terms of its special effects, but in terms of overall storytelling, I think it was done reasonably well. I also like the actor who portrayed Henry Bowers. He came across as just a fucking mean bastard who loves to terrorize these people. He loves terrorizing them. I love how he almost tries to cut Ben. And I love how, he also taunts Eddie when Eddie starts to have an asthma attack. I think the stuff with him and Mike, it's the movie, the backdrop of the 1960s, so you're going to have a lot of racial prejudice. But I think, to me, whenever a child is doing something to another child, to me it feels more worse than when an adult does. It means because it's a young mind being corrupted, and to me that's always been more of an issue than an adult, is when you actually poison the mind of a younger child because their brains are still developing, no matter the age. And to me that's just more frightening than an adult. Adults doing racial discrimination is fucking ridiculous. But when a child does it, it's just you gotta look in the mirror and just say to yourself, what the fuck are you doing with your life? But I did like that between Bowers and Mike, how Bowers is taunting Mike and nearly tries to kill him with a cherry bomb. And I also like how the Losers Club accept Mike into their gang, because he is, in a sense, he is one of them. He is picked on. He is different. He is overlooked. And the 7 of them. And the 7 of them come together almost as if they were the Justice League or the Avengers in a way, because they're the only ones with the power and the strong bonds to take on this evil shape-shifting creature known as It, who takes the guise of Pennywise the Clown, who is played expertly by Tim Curry. Between both parts, Tim Curry is the star of this show. Don't let nobody steer you wrong. Tim Curry is the star of the show. You take Curry out of this thing, and this movie will sink, because he gives it life. Especially in that first half, where in the first half of this movie, Curry is relatively scary, especially when you got the iconic scene with him in the storm drain talking to Georgie, and the camera zooms in on Curry, and you see these piercing blue eyes, these fucking scary blue eyes. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. That's how fucking piercing those blue eyes are. And Oh my god, I almost wish they would have done a scene where like the losers, or when the losers eventually get to the sewer, and the whole set design of the sewer is fucking, I love it. It's a very, very well built set. Looks fantastic. But I really wish that when the smoke starts to crowd around them, that we would have seen those piercing blue eyes, and then slowly get the reveal of Curry coming out of that fog. I think that would have been a classic horror scene, and I think that was a missed opportunity for this miniseries. I think that would have been a really, really cool scene. Just as he's about to grab Stan, you see those piercing blue eyes, and just him start. Then you see that white glove just grab Stan, and then he comes fully revealed, and he goes all bombastic. I think that would have been great, and Curry definitely could have pulled it off. Because throughout this first half, Curry is, like I said, he's creepy, he's scary, but he also has like those comedic. He also has like those comedic moments to him, like when he's taunting Eddie. He's like, "Here I am, Wheezy," or when he's talking to Ben. "And when you're down here with me, fat boy." So yeah, Curry, good job of just being like this, just haunting these kids and just building up that fear, because he feeds on children because they're easy to scare. So the more scared they become in his mind, the more, tastier they become, if you will. So yeah, first half is good. Second half is where the problems kick in. With all due respect to the adult actors, and there's a number of these adult actors who I've liked in previous works, particularly John Ritter and Tim Reed, and the chemistry between the 7 adults, it's yes and no on how they work. Like, it's really yes and no on how they work. Like, some relationships when they're adults, it's the acting is just so melodramatic coming from them, and it's not as natural as it was with the kid actors, and it just really comes across as just like, oh, this is going to be a chore to watch. And even Tommy Lee Wallace has admitted that the second half of this movie is the weakest point, and I have to agree, because it really is the weakest. It's really melodramatic. A lot of the adult actors, in some cases, they seem to be phoning it in. Tim Curry in this second half where in the first half, to me, he's relatively creepy. I wouldn't say scary, but creepy. The second half, he's just flat out, just full-blown comedic. Like, you can tell that he's just having a blast in the second half, just being a goofball. And like, watching it, like, you can feel that the infectious humor that Curry's portraying, but it really feels very unbalanced with the second half, which for the most part took itself kind of seriously, where the second half kind of like, it tries to take itself seriously, but the comedy clashes it's having is ridiculous. But the melodramatic acting and Tim Curry's over-the-top comedic antics in a lot of scenes, they have like an uneven clash. Not to say that a lot of those comedic bits are horrible. I mean, I love the scene in the library where Tim Curry's taunting Richie Tozier by just fucking acting like a goofball. I think that shit's hilarious. I laugh every time. But I also think that Harry Anderson did a lot of overreacting in that scene as well, especially when the balloon pops and blood sprays his face, and he just like does that fucking wide-eyed Bugs Bunny type. Tone it down a little bit, be more subtle. And as much as I love John Ritter, there are a lot of scenes where he really is overacting, especially when he starts to have his visions, and the fact that he's playing Ben as an alcoholic. So I think a lot of his acting was also very over exaggerated, especially when he's seeing visions. He's just like, oh. So, and Richard Thomas, not a bad actor, but in certain scenes, Richard Thomas and Tim Reed do have some good chemistry going on, but then in other scenes, Richard Thomas is just like, comes across as just very dull in his deliveries in a lot of scenes, which is a shame because Thomas is not that bad of an actor. But to me, I think one of the strong points of the adults is Tim Reed's character as Mike Hanlon. I think Tim Reed as adult Mike is really good. For the most part, it's really good. For the most part, it's really good. I like the fact that while everyone also has success after leaving Derry, he's the only one that did not achieve said success. He's the one that still remembers everything, while everyone else forgot. So I kind of like that aspect of his character, as him being like the guardian of the keys in a way, like the one that can fill in the gaps because everyone else is blank. And to me, that's another flaw with part 2. It's a holding pattern until you get to the big climax, because to me, every other scene plays out is Richie wants to leave. He complains about leaving. Everyone else is like, come on, Mike, fill us in. Let's go around the campfire and tell stories with not a whole lot progression going on. And then you get this side plot going on where Pennywise is trying to manipulate Henry Bowers into joining his cause, which he eventually does, and he takes out Mike, putting him in a hospital. Which leads to the big disappointing climax where they face a giant fucking spider, and 3 hours of your time you're just scratching your head out and you're just wondering, after all that, a giant, ugly looking spider. Ugly in the effect look, the practical effect on the spider, it looks ugh. And some stop motion of it looks ugh. And the whole climax is just ugh. Of course Eddie dies, but the fact that all that build up, it's a fucking spider. Like, really, a spider. And then out of nowhere, it kidnaps Bill's wife, and she played no role in this movie. She had like 2 lines, and all of a sudden she's here, and you're just like, oh. And then he puts her on, and then after they kick the crap out of the giant spider and pull out its organs and save the day, the wife's in a catatonic state, and Bill rides a bicycle down the street because earlier when they were kids, he saved Stan by riding a bicycle down the street. And in his mind, that's going to make you better. And it makes her better. So, bicycles can beat evil. Rock on. So yeah, after all that, this movie is a solid 6.5. It is a 6.5. The first half is good. The second half is a mess. The second half tries to maintain the momentum of the first half, but it just falls under its own weight, and it's a damn shame because you know, the idea of confronting your childhood fears as an adult to me has always been an intriguing concept, but in this one, the execution was sloppily done, and I still think that the book did it much better. But anyway, 6.5 out of 10. That is my review on it. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.